Hi, welcome back to Space Thoughts. Second video in the course of this week, but another important event occurred on April 22nd when the Iranian Revolutionary Guard launched a satellite into orbit. The NOR, I believe it is, the NORR. They did put it in orbit, and this has been confirmed. So this is the first time Iran has put a satellite into orbit. Now, it's interesting some of the dynamics going on here because this was a military launch. In other words, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard launched it and not the Iranian Space Agency. And right now, there was some questions about whether or not this violated, I think it's UN Resolution 2231, which regulates basically Iran's nuclear program and basically prohibits the launch of the development of missiles that are capable of carrying a nuclear weapon. Now, the Russian Federation came out yesterday pretty strongly and defended Iran, saying, no, this was not a launch of a missile that could carry a nuclear weapon. It was basically a rocket that is exploited, that's basically enabling Iran to participate in, quote, the peaceful uses of outer space. Now, Iran was one of the original founding members of COPUOS, and they basically are a part of the Outer Space Treaty, so they do have that right. However, tomato right now is the fact that one, this was launched by a military organization versus civilian organization, and there's going to be a lot of, and considering the tensions right now between the U.S. on the nuclear program, Iran's nuclear program and such, this is expected give and take on both sides. So here's my take on it. A couple of things. One, I think this is Iran's Sputnik moment in that they've basically demonstrated that they have an indigenous launch capability, and that would be unique among the Gulf states. And it's interesting, the parallels with Sputnik in the sense is that Sputnik was basically launched on a military rocket, or basically a rudimentary ICBM. And what happened with Sputnik was basically, while it was a launch of a satellite, it also demonstrated the capability of the Soviet Union to deliver a nuclear weapon once it was sized down to a size to a point where it could be carried by a missile. So, i.e., Sputnik 1 wasn't just about the first satellite in orbit, it also demonstrated the ability to deliver a nuclear weapon, which was one of the reasons it would cause so much concern in the U.S. Now, there are other great benefits that we've talked about before. In other words, developing the customary law of free access and stuff, and that was an interesting side benefit. But you got to take into account with Iran, yes, this was launched on a military rocket, and there is this UN resolution here, and now the rhetoric, basically the posturing back and forth is whether this was done for peaceful uses of outer space or is basically something that could be used to carry a nuclear weapon. Now, it's interesting because, basically in the U.S. program, U.S. Space program early on, they basically used converted ICBMs. Atlas, the first Atlas was used to launch the Mercury program, and the converted Titan II ballistic missile was used to carry the Gemini for it. Now, and interesting, the Apollo program, the Saturn V, the F-1 engines were basically a military program that was conceived as a military program and started as such to power an ICBM. The Air Force dropped it, and NASA picked it up and continued on the work and actually developed it. And that's kind of one of the reasons the F-1 was developed as, quote, quickly as it was, is the Air Force had already started the work. So Apollo does have some, hardware that was actually originated for military purposes, but incorporated into a civilian purpose. There's going to be a lot of rhetoric going on about this in the next few weeks. And I'm kind of following this closely. I may do a special issue of my briefing letter, but understand that even though this is being touted as peaceful purposes, similar to the launch of Sputnik, this rocket can be used to deliver a nuclear weapon. This is going to be a concern that's going to be elevated. And once Iran basically develops a sizable nuclear weapon, they develop the capability. They've demonstrated a capability to actually launch it and deliver it. Guidance systems and other things, that's another thing, and actually developing a miniaturized weapon is important, an important consideration as well. That's another technical hurdle they'll have to overcome. However, the big question is, how often can they actually, how frequently can they launch these things? I mean, this basically required a vast expenditure both in terms of money and technical abilities to get to this point. And it's unclear whether they had any outside help from North Korea, the PRC, or the Russian Federation to actually make this a capable rocket. And I think I have a photo here of, there we go, of the nose cone of the Kasad, I believe it's called. And that's a photo of the nose of the rocket that delivered the satellite into orbit. And to emphasize, this is a military satellite. Now, understand, military satellites aren't banned by the Outer Space Treaty so long as they're used for peaceful purposes. And that peaceful purpose term basically has come to mean non-aggressive purposes. What's it doing up there? Who knows? But it's being tracked and it's being watched. And timing, of course, we're in the middle of a, still kind of hopefully on the downward side of a pandemic. So the timing's interested, even though something like this probably took a long time to plan. And that coupled with, some of the incidents that are going on in the Arabian Gulf right now with gunboats harassing U.S. warships. All this adds to, what I consider distractions. Couple that with what's going on with the Russian Federation, the ASAT they launched back last week for the test, and the fact that they're harassing maritime patrol planes in the Mediterranean. So there's a lot of things going on geopolitically, and I think it's safe to say that this launch was meant as to make a geopolitical statement as well, that Iran's a player. And certainly they've made that statement. I'm sure their neighbors in the Gulf and in the Middle East in general are really watching this closely, because all in all, I mean, they have demonstrated that they have an indigenous launch capability. Now, how robust that capability is and how frequent they can employ that capability remains to be seen. However, it does give them the ability to launch their own satellites for reconnaissance or whatever. So this is very significant. And like I said, there'll be a lot of posturing going on in the UN about this, especially over the UN resolution regarding their nuclear program. And so this is going to stay warm for a while, and this will definitely have the attention of intelligence services all over the world as they watch to see how this develops. So that's just a quick take on this. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank my subscribers. My subscriptions they're growing slowly, but people have been joining the channel, and I do appreciate that. And I ask you, if you really enjoy this video, to subscribe and share this video and give it a like and get the word out. And it seems, with things heating up in the space arena, I'll probably be doing a lot more of these a lot more often, and I'll try and address these a lot faster. And of course, to my subscribers, to the Pressy, I'm really gonna try and get something out probably the next week or so, as far as a briefing letter covering this topic in a little bit more detail. So anyways, have a great day, and I'll talk to you next time.